introduction, but we're going to introduce him nonetheless. Zach Prusak currently works at the Tall Timbers Research Station as a wildland fire training specialist. In this role, he works with state, federal, local, and private conservation groups and landowners to create and promote fire training opportunities and facilitate on-the-ground partnerships through collaboratives such as fire councils and prescribed burn associations. Zach also is the current chair of the Coalition of Prescribed Fire Councils. That's why I get all those emails.
Yeah, sorry.
Zach has close to 35 years of fire experience.
What?
Yeah, is qualified as a prescribed fire burn boss type 2 and is a state certified prescribed burn manager in Florida. He also provides voiceover work for a variety of projects and can unicycle and juggle all at the same time. Let's welcome Zach.
Thanks, Sammy. Yeah, so if you have any VO needs, hit me up. But yeah, thanks a lot. Wow, 35 years. And I started out studying ants at UCF, and look where the heck I am. They were fire ants, yeah, so yeah. So today I'm just going to give you all a quick update on the Tall Timbers Fire Learning Portal. I've mentioned it to a lot of folks in the past, and okay. Oh, Mary, no. I am not progressing, which is a kind of a common thing. So I'm gonna soft shoe here. Yeah. First let me just throw out a quick thing for the Coalition of Prescribed Fire Council. So, like Sammy said, I'm the current chair, taking over for Mark Melvin. Oh, thank you. And there will be a webinar on November 15th. We're looking for input as to what the Coalition of Prescribed Fire Councils can do for all of you. Mark Melvin has shepherded that for so many years, and now we kind of need some input on what we're going to do. Tall Timbers houses it, but we're looking, again, what do you think the coalition could do to help people? Speaking of that, so anyone guess on the date of this map? It's one of the oldest ones I could find back in my presentations. Give me a date. Anyone guess? 1975. No. 2007, close. So this is from 2009-ish, I think. So this is when the Coalition of Prescribed Fire Councils basically took off. Mark Melvin, his concern really was smoke, air quality, making sure that that wasn't an impediment to getting fire on the ground. Rick brings up so many good points that this stuff, we got to do it. We got to keep doing it. And the backbone, sorry, agency folks, because I used to work for an agency, it's private landowners. And we cannot let anything stop private landowners from burning. So the coalition was started based on the fact that all of us together, fire don't care what patches we wear. The councils, as far as I know, first one in South Florida, they grew, Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. So this was what it was in 2009, and this is what it is within a year or two. So yeah, give yourself a hand on that, because right now, and this is from one of the fire use survey reports that the Coalition and the National Association of State Foresters puts out, that again, Mark Melvin started. And it says 38 fire councils in 34 states. So right now, you can add Montana to that. You can add West Virginia to that. And New Hampshire and Delaware are working on theirs right now. Massachusetts probably will be soon. Arizona had one. It does it now, but there's an interest in there as well. So this is one of the benefits, and thanks, Sammy, for saying how old I am. One of the benefits of getting old is you see this arc of fire over time. There's a lot of things that can get you depressed. There's a lot of impediments to fire. The EPA is going to release their new air quality standards at the end of this year. There's going to be some impact. But at the end of the day, one thing that I've seen over time, besides Rick being older than me, is that the amount of fire councils has increased. Who here knows what a prescribed burn association is? Okay, so there's 3 in Florida, 2 for sure. There's 113 prescribed burn associations across the United States, and that's basically private landowners getting together to help each other burn. And I'm guessing in Florida, Rick, in your experience, there's private landowners helping each other burn. They don't need to be part of the PBA, but there's some benefits to that. But my point is, none of this has decreased. Like if these maps were reversed, if there was less fire councils, You might say, forget it, the jig is up, we're done, but we're not. This is only increasing. The number of people that are connected is growing. So I show you this to let you all know, those of you who have been here from the beginning, and this council started on the back of a pickup truck a long time ago, and look where we are. And so again, give yourselves a big hand for working hard to promote this. All right, so enough of that. Now let's get back to what you're here for. Fire training. In my role at Tall Timbers, I am a wildland fire training specialist. I've been doing a lot of training as my fire career. When I was doing fire in Brevard County, was probably the last time I was really rolling with really good urban interface prescribed fires. And now things are a little quieter for me, so I'm doing a ton of training. The demand for training has gone through the roof. And so there is a challenge, and we need increased fire training and mentoring in the coming decades from a control burning and a firefighting standpoint. Who here was mentored by someone? Yeah, look at that. That is the key right there. Because yes, the state of Florida has an amazing certified prescriber and manager program. You go through that, but at the end of the day, you got to have someone walk with you in the woods to get this done. So there's a huge challenge for this. There's a lot of us that aren't going to be doing these councils anymore, except for Doug. You're never leaving, man. Sorry, Sammy, you're the chair next time. No. So there's been some surveys. There's been some attempts to actually get a feel for what does that mean. And so there's a lot of word salad up here. Northeast, Southeast Regional Cohesive Strategy Committees of the Cohesive Wildland Fire Management Strategy. Southeast Regional Partnership for Planning and Sustainability, basically groups of folks that are trying to get a feel for what needs to be done. Many of you in this room probably responded to these surveys, and they were asking, what kind of training do you really need? And what are the impediments? And so these are the impediments for this. Difficulty finding out about training. So this is state training. This is federal training to help you get what you need done. Who here, fortunately or unfortunately, is on my MailChimp list? Those of you who are not, you will be. We live in an era right now that these things in our, it's unheard of. We have computers in our pocket. We're more connected than ever before, for good or bad. And we still have a hard time getting to know about training. Who here in the room feels like you know exactly when and where the training you need will happen? Yeah, and there's websites. With the Coochie Training Center, there's the Wildland Fire Learning Portal, which has a lot of info in that, and but we are not connected. So this comes up time and time again. Not enough sessions, because it's hard to get cadre to teach. There's many people in this room that give their time free to actually help do fire classes, and that's phenomenal. I really salute you. There's not enough money to pay everyone, but this comes up time and time again. Training coordination is challenging across all boundaries. If there's a great fire class put on by the U.S. Forest Service, you may or may not be able to attend. If there's a great fire course put on by Everglades, it was tough, Rick, when you were holding those down there to get people in there. Or, heck, in the corner there, the private contractors doing your work on fire classes, it's tough to get the word out. There's not enough coordination. And they're not equally accessible to all, sort of what I said before. Those of you who here in the room would like to take more federal fire classes, okay? Who here in this room would like to take more classes that might be about smoke? All of us should raise our hand. And so often these classes are geared toward people that are retiring from their agencies. The Forest Service is losing a lot of people, Park Service, Feds, state, we're all aging out of these. And so there's a lot of younger folks coming in. They need the training and more of it than we got. So no pressure, the youngsters in the room. This is going to be all on you one day. So, and then there's an interest in diversifying training formats. And this is the gist of the Tall Timbers Fire Learning Portal, hybrid training. Who here has taken an online course before? Okay. Who here enjoyed your online course? Yeah, less hands. Yeah. Who here has taken an in-person fire class? Who here did not like their in-person fire training class? Yeah, see, sometimes having it in person doesn't mean it's good either. But the realities of where we are, how we work, the cost, what COVID unfortunately and fortunately has taught agencies is maybe I can do it cheaper and maybe not send my staff out for a full-time training and all this stuff. But it also has made us realize we can make online training way better. We can still maintain the quality. So I, again, work for Tall Timbers in the Private Lands Prescribed Fire Initiative Department. And so my goal, now that I can just simply focus on teaching and training, is to deliver the training that you need. And again, that's me, Wildland Fire Training Specialist. So that's me. And I was the only one doing this in my time, because I was doing it at the Nature Conservancy, and now I'm doing it pretty much at Tall Timbers. In 2022 alone, just me and working with other folks, we were a part of the training of 700 people. And so that was a wide variety of classes. The demand is not going down. The Tall Timbers Fire Learning Portal is not meant, okay, those who here has been on the Federal Wildland Fire Learning Portal? Okay. Who here enjoys that? It's okay. It's got some benefits to it. It's very massive. My goal is not to duplicate that, because when I first mentioned Tall Timbers is going to have their own fire training portal, people, it already exists. My goal is this is to be smooth and streamlined and easily accessible and easily navigable. When you go to this, it's going to be like a pleasant, kind of experience. And 2 weeks ago, I just hired someone to help me who is an instructional designer. So who here has taken an online class for college? All right, so those of you who have raised your hands, did you enjoy that online class in college? Never mind, some of them, okay. This person, instructional designer, that's what they do. They make sure that you don't have an awful time, because sitting at your computer all the time can suck. And so this person doesn't know anything about fire, but knows everything about getting into your head and seeing how you learn. So that's gonna help us craft a lot of classes. I have one more position coming up that's U.S. Forest Service funded, and it's going to be a virtual training lead. So those of you on my list, once the money is released, I'm going to send that out, because I'm looking for someone to actually take over for a lot of what I do. Because of those of you who know me, I don't say no to anything, which is, that means that there's a lot to do. So I'm growing this shop that's going to basically be able to respond to what you need if there's a gap or a bottleneck in your training for your job, for your private lands needs. I'm going to try to break that. So currently, hybrid S130, S190, L180, I still work with the University of Florida Natural Areas Training Academy. I also have this hybrid class on the Tall Timbers Fire Learning Portal. Basically, everyone comes together within a set time, works together in this online. You're not by yourself, you're working with other students. And the field day is in a lot of locations around the state. Has anyone here taken that course through University of Florida NADA? Anyone yet? Way in the back, way right here. Did you like it?
Yeah.
No pressure. What did you like about it?
This is for the S1.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were an excellent presenter. It could have been like a very dry, drab, thing, but I thought it was phenomenal.
So those of you online, he said I was an excellent presenter. Here's your $20. But you bring up an excellent point, not me, but it's true. Online learning is a challenge. And so, to have it broken up into sections and units to keep you motivated and going is a part of it. That fills up within 2 hours every time University of Florida announces it. So there's a huge demand for that. So that's current, and right now our field day sites are in Florida: Archibald, Tall Timbers, Wekiva, now Wickham Park. Thank you, Evan. We're looking for more field day sites to get this going. Also, I'm working on the Pennsylvania Certified Prescribed Burn Manager course. Pennsylvania, with other states, want to adopt the Florida CPBM materials, because in Pennsylvania is a funny state. They have NWCG standards for their state agencies. Their private landowners have nothing, and they want to encourage more private landowners to burn, pheasant hunting and a bunch of other stuff. I'm working with tons of universities. There's this whole other world where university students can learn to get through 130-190. They want to learn more fire courses. They may want to be firefighters, but more often than not, these students want to be in your shoes. They want to work for the Park Service. They want to work for the Nature Conservancy. They want to be a part of fire. And they're finding it hard to get into these. So I've been contacted by a lot of universities, SUNY in New York, University of Florida, University of the South in Tennessee. Who here knows about that university? It's like Hogwarts and Oxford had a baby. It's bizarre. Like in the middle of Swanee, Tennessee. It's like, whoa. But these students, one person on that campus is putting all his students through 130-190. They do the field day there. They have them do the pack test, everything. And there's like 80 students, but they're not ecology or foresters. There's philosophy majors, geology majors, because as you all know, it doesn't matter your background. I mean, those of you who know Sticky Steve Morrison, the guy raised bees and played the fiddle, one of the best burners ever. So there's a huge number of students there in these universities that could eventually fill our positions. And what do they need? They need this course. I'm a big proponent of making 130-190 L180 the best it can be, because that's people's first exposure to fire and being part of that community. I'm also currently working on hybrid versions of S131 and S290, the intermediate fire behavior, the refreshers. Here's the interesting thing. Those of you who are part of agencies who have to have the RT 130 every year, I'm getting private landowners within the PBAs coming up to me that goes, I heard you were talking about fire in January. Can we be a part of that? Sure. And so, but again, a whole other world of people, if it can be delivered to them virtually, in a good way, we're getting more and more people involved in being safe. RX 300, which used to be RX 301, 341. And Rick, again, you're older than me. Did it used to be RX 300? Yeah, so this is prescribed fire writing and prescribed fire implementation. The feds have this. If you want to be an RXB2, I think you have to have it. In some places, it used to be you didn't, which is kind of weird. But that's also being delivered in a hybrid way. And then Quail Forever, NRCS, which are massive organizations that help private landowners. They want their ecologists to be trained in fire, to talk to landowners. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now in my spare time. In the future, so we brag about Florida's Certified Prescribed Burn Manager course and template. There is work that is starting and that will be going on that perhaps there could be a region-wide Certified Prescribed Burn Manager course that touches on different states, because basically, kind of what John said, most of these prescriptions share the same elements. And so perhaps there's a way that if you're a contractor or you're a burner who wants to burn across state lines, maybe one course with the specifics of your legal language could suffice. So we are working on that. This is something that some of you have heard me talk about. I want to poach steal what the extension folks do very well, which is master naturalist, master gardener. There's currently 2 tracks. You can go the federal track. You can be a state certified burner, but what if I don't want to do that? What if I just want to learn more and be better helping people burn? What I envision and what we'll put together is something that could be a master burner course that takes the best of all of that. And then you could get certificates in learning. You don't ever want to put your name on a prescription? Great. You never want to be a burn boss type 2? Fantastic. But you want to be better on a fire. And so I think there's ways we could accomplish that. Tribal engagement. I have been contacted by a few Western tribes to actually convert the 130-190 L180 into their language. And so there's a huge interest now because there's a lot of conflict and issues with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and tribes. It's not pretty, but there's also an interest of having a lot of this more accessible, but taught by the tribes, which only makes sense, and still be qualified for what that FFT2 training is. And then smoke, there is stuff coming down the road. Again, there's EPA changes. All of us as burners are going to have to be really knowledgeable and proficient in smoke modeling. And so one of our goals is to create some really nice smoke management courses and modeling courses. There's currently a federal course called RX 410 It hasn't been updated in 20 years. And so it's clunky. Yeah. You have to have good people teach it. That's the only way to make it good. But we can also do something that isn't a 5 or 4 day class to make it applicable to private landowners. And then the hybrid S215, the urban interface course, RX310, which is a fire ecology class, the smoke class, and then my grand plan for world domination is if you can have through the portal this 130-190 LN80 to take with other people, there's no reason why you couldn't have a field day in Alaska, a field day in Belize, a field day around the world. And so getting the best possible training delivered to you where you are, and yet your field day is where you are, I think will sort of crack open a lot of opportunities too. So definitely we talk about Florida's course. This is just a couple of screenshots to it. Who here has seen the very latest guidebook for prescribed burning in the southern region? Yeah, so this just came out. Leslie, and I'm gonna, Marinelle, is it Bobby? Leslie Bobby. Yeah, and this specifically is from Georgia Extension. You know offhand? Yeah, so this just came out. I'm gonna send a link to the PDF for this to everyone. There's printed copies, but not enough for all. This is a really great guidebook and essentially builds upon that slide that Rick showed. And so the older documents, this is sort of brand new. And so, and I show that, who here, of course, remembers that diagram from 130, 190, L80? Yes. Now we're in this time where bits and pieces of the federal fire courses that are targeting why people get hurt and die on a fire with ecological effects, with kind of how we approach planning for fires. There's this interesting merging going on. And so I think it's a great time for training. I think it's a great time for creating what basically could be a nationwide prescribed fire course or nationwide prescribed fire plan that then insurance companies, which is always one of those things floating around when they ask, how do you know you're qualified? Well, this state gave me a certification. My state doesn't have that. How do I know you are good at that? The opportunity for online delivery of stuff to a lot of people is, I think, this is a great time for that. And what we would need is basically, so you may hear me reaching out to many of you to actually act as narrators for different sections of courses, cadre, and this is private people on to feds. All of us can contribute to this. So that's my crazily overhyped TED Talk. I think, and again, I'm a cynical old person, but this is really cool stuff. And I would not have known this was even possible if COVID hadn't kicked us in the butt. And because I was teaching this stuff up in Gainesville, at Ordway Swisher, we had 50 students go out on a burn at Ordway Swisher. It was nuts, but we were doing it. And then it hit. And I was like, well, now what? We're dead in the water. And my wife, who teaches at Valencia College, some online learning, she said, well, this could be online. Like, what? Yeah. And so I have had a huge shift in my approach to how we could teach folks. Turns out people didn't actually like sitting in the classroom in Gainesville for 4 days for 8 hours a day. Who knew? And every single year we got those course evaluations, oh, the chair is too hard. Yeah, well, whatever. But we filled up that class all the time because it was all that they could do. Now with this online version, this hybrid version going through Tall Timbers, again, we already, to this date, I think we've hit like 800 students in a variety of classes. And so to me, it's about increasing accessibility, but also increasing the quality of training. So that's all I got. So any questions from y'all? Yes. So Ken, yes, you want to put more on my plate? Yeah, so Ken Ward asked if there's a master burner program, would there be an apprentice burner program? Yeah, I think anything's possible. There's a really cool group out in California called Fire Forward. Has anyone heard of them before? If not, I'm going to send that to you via email. So this is a really cool nonprofit working on, I think, Audubon Canyon Ranch. They hire apprentices for apprenticeships, and that's what their goal is. And they'll pay people to be apprentices on land management and fire. So yeah, I think anything's possible. You know, you just need money and people and a conduit for that to flow through. And I think extension, to put more on the extension plate, is the natural for that, as long as we have a network of dedicated land managers and people willing to be mentors. Again, that's the missing piece, that all of this got to where we are. So yeah, anything's possible. Any other question? Way in the back, way in the back.
Some of the hybrid classes online and stuff these days, a lot of the NWCP material is really old. You touched on that. Pictures are really old, stuff like that. Are you going to be able to change some of that stuff, or is that going to come specifically from NWCP?
So the question is, a lot of the material in NWCG is old, outdated, clunky. Can a course designer change it, and or do they have to change it? Nuanced answer. And so, yes, the NWCG allows for you to receive their courses pre-built, you know, the objectives, the pictures. You can change pictures in that, as long as you meet the objectives and your intention is still the same. It's a very gray area. Can you take one of their classes, throw everything out, and still meet the objectives? You could. It depends upon how the Eye of Sauron looks at you, you know, about how you're doing that. For example, 130, 190, L180, again, I mentioned, I think it's incredibly important. I take a lot of extra liberty meeting objectives, throwing in maybe new pictures, but talking about prescribed fire constantly. And so there's ways you can alter that. However, I will say the NWCG has recently got an influx of a lot of money, and they're updating a lot of their courses, and a lot of their courses are going to be removed from their website and put directly into the Wildland Fire Learning Portal. They've redone S190. It's really good. It's on the Wildland Fire Learning Portal, and you take it by yourself. I think there's a place for this, where maybe you've lost your certificate, maybe you have a lot of fire experience. Go take it, get it done with, quote unquote. But if you're brand new, I think there's a lot more value in working together. So long answer, but yes, you can, just be cautious. Any other question? Yeah. So she's asking if S490 is going to be offered. I don't have any intel at all. I think it was offered recently somewhere in the United States. What is that? That's like extreme. It's not advanced fire behavior.
Yeah, we teach it, but I would recommend that you wait for what's going to happen next, because in the world of fire behavior and our knowledge is leapfrogging over the content of that course. It's an incredible course, but the new version will be far more useful for you. For example, the course that is now uses topographic maps. So, and we have computers now.
So the question is about S490. Do I know if it's going to be offered at Intel? And Rick Anderson just explained that it will be improved upon. And I know S390, I think Heather Hewer delivered S390 recently, where they use nomograms as like, that's really cool. But so a lot of that fire behavior courses, I think you're right. It's just, those courses are difficult to change, and they take a lot of work to do. But the fire behavior software and supercomputers is it's insane what you can visualize and model. Time for one more. Yes.
So is there any plan to do anything with teaching the public? You know where it works, you know what I'm talking about. But doesn't know where the north wind means, the wind is coming from the north. About how prescribed fire practitioners deal with smoke, so we don't practice $1 billion.
Yeah, so the question was, any kind of opportunity to teach the public about smoke management and how safe, actual, and how much planning goes into prescribed fire. We did a learn and burn. We did a fire in Georgia at the Jones Center where we invited EPA officials, and when the burn boss took out a plan, that's the first thing one of them said, "You planned this? That's great, wow." So we think that the understanding of fire, I think, is way beyond what it used to be, but there's still a lot to not. I don't have a great answer. John, you remember this years and years ago, the Florida Forest Service, back when it was DOF and Pandion, tried to get a program through the Brevard County school system where, all right, let's just simply put, like in Highlands County, all the kids have to go through Archibald and they have to do that. And the thought was, all right, we can't maybe teach the adults because adults don't learn, but kids. So I don't have a great answer, except that, again, the role of the fire council, one of the things we did when we started was, that was the goal of this council. Everyone was given slide decks and carousels. And the goal was to go around the homeowners associations and to county and city boards and talk to them about that. We may have to do that again. And maybe through this master burner apprentice system, through extension, people would like to learn more. They really would. And so maybe there's a way that we could deliver something that's geared toward the public. But yeah, I think it's again, the ability to deliver stuff to people if they want it has been, it's never before. You can go online and learn anything, you know, and so I think it's possible. So the question was, can Big Pharma invent something to put into the water to make them not afraid of smoke? That's a great question, and we're out of time. So thank you very much.